Hello and welcome to today's video. My name's ArbieG and today we are at the Nations Cup round 4 as part of the FIA seasons. And look at that, driver rank B. First time ever for an FIA race. Managed to work my way in the B class. We're at the lower end of B class. You can see why we've mixed in with a few C class races, but a lot different picture from literally the D class race we ran in the manufacturers the other day, where we won the race, but we've got barely anything on the points. So we're going to go to the quali, and we're going to go to the best lap of the qualifying session, and let's see where we get in our first race in the B class. Anyway, so we're in B class. We've got a few other people on the track in B class, and mixing it still with the high end of C class. So come around now to turn 1 at Spa. The second time we've been at Spa since we started this off. So it was the second track that we ever raced on, so it's one that it's good to come back to a track, and I felt like that I tuned to it pretty quickly due to all the practice that I did on it the first time. So you can see when we did this previously, we were in GT4 cars and I was driving the Corvette, and in the Corvette GT4 you can get through there flat out. You can actually get through there. I can see on the fastest lap people get through there flat out, but it is really challenging to pull off. So this race is in the GT3 Dodge Viper, so everyone's in GT3 Dodge Vipers, so it's kind of pretty much down to racing skill rather than individual cars. A 12 lap race with the choice between soft, medium and hard tyres, and we've got at some point in the race we have to put on medium and we have to put on hard, or else we will get a 1 minute a penalty as we go through the end. So we're just coming through now, coming down to this like long sweeping left-hander. Find that if I sort of push on the brake just after the 50 mark, half brake, and then just get myself down. I actually went down a bit slower than what I normally do there, so I definitely can find time in this lap. I normally drift down to about 105 there, but I drifted down to 90. And then we hit brake just as we hit the curbstones on the left-hand side. Trail brake down to third and get down to about 85 miles per hour. Then you should be able to accelerate and get out here. And again, on the curbstone you want, well, I put my brake marker, half brake through there, and then you're pretty much going to accelerate now right until the final chicane. Again, this turn that we're coming up on here, you can get through it a full throttle, and I did manage a couple times to get through it full throttle, but 9 times out of 10 just coming off the gas ever so slightly just to help with the control. As you can see, we just come off the gas right at the end of the turn there, just to give us a little bit of control to make sure we don't overrun and get a track penalty. Brake at the 150 marker, trail brake in second gear into the chicane, and then try and get the tightest angle you can on there to accelerate, to straighten the wheels and accelerate out. And we finish there with a 219 flat, which is a little bit off from my practice. My best practice was 217.4, so we're a little bit behind my practice pace, but let's see where that 219 puts us on the grid as we now go into the glorious and over the top and very, very self-indulgent FIA Nations Cup cinematic, which I do actually quite like, but when you're actually racing it, it just feels like had to be a little bit extra pressure onto the race. Nothing wrong with that. I do like a bit of pressure, but you know. And there we go. We're into round 4 now, so we're into round 4 of 10 rounds of this season, with the best chance to get points. So you remember, the higher our DR is, the more possible points we can get from our results. So I think the best result we've got is either 34 or 36 points. So number 1 there is the Russian with a 217.7, and there's myself. We've got second place on the grid, 219 flat, so a little bit of distance between us and first place, but I kind of feel like I might be at his pace, because I know on my best runs I can get down to that here sort of time, 217. And you can see as we go back through the grid now, we're sort of going through the 219s. So yeah, it's weird. It's a disappointing result, because I know I can do better in that qualifying time, but in terms of what's actually happened on the grid, I can't really complain at being second place on the grid. So let's see if we can survive through turn 1, which turn 1 here at Spa can be a bit of a doozy, especially when you're doing a grid start. I am fortunate that the guy behind me, 4th place, seems to maybe dropped out the race, so it gives me a little bit of room behind me, maybe offers me a little bit more security than normal as we get away. Now using traction control to get away to the best start possible, and we'll get around the corner and we'll turn the traction control off. Didn't want to distract myself from the first corner, so normally I'd try and turn it off straight away, but I actually waited so I could see the radar as I go down. And then there's absolute chaos there. You can see behind me in first, but we've managed to get away cleanly. 3rd place has got himself a penalty, and you can see actually we've managed to get away to a relatively nice start and built already a nice 2-second gap between. As we actually cut corner a little bit there, we're probably going to get a penalty on this one. Normally the track limits there are pretty tight, yet half-second penalty there. We're not going to receive that this lap, we're going to get it round on the next lap, so let's see if we can build a bit of a gap and make sure that half-second penalty doesn't impact us, as we do sort of sit a little bit behind first place, making sure that we've got to keep up with him. So again, he's got about a second on us there, as you can see by the time deltas I've popped in to the replay there. As we come down now to this probably one of the slowest turns on the course, sweeping right hand turn, a sort of hairpin turn, really nice to take. A bit of trail braking through there, run a little wide there, not a tidy lap on this first lap, have to admit. Been a bit untidy through a few turns, must have lost a few attempts of a second. Again, a little bit untidy through there, dropping down to about 95 when I know again I can hit about 100, 105 and still keep very nicely inside the track and get around there at the fastest speed. But we're sitting nice and pretty in second place, and a good 4-second lead, 3.5 to 4-second lead on the chap in 3rd place. So we've got a bit of a cushion, and if we can see out second place, or perhaps even make a push on first, this will be a really good result in our very first race in this division, and hopefully leaves us in good stead going into the next race. As we now come round to this final stretch, like I said, you can do this stretch flat out and make sure that you're in. So at the minute we're on the soft tyres. We do have a pit strategy. Our pit strategy is basically we're going to get to about lap 5 and the soft tyres are going to be pretty worn, so we're going to come in on lap 5 and swap to the mediums. Then the mediums are going to last us for the rest of the race, but we still need to put on hards at some point, so we're going to race the mediums until lap 11 to the last lap, and then we're going to swap the hards and do 1 lap on hard just so we can hit that requirement. So it's going to be a two pit stop race. You can do it with 1 pit stop if you start on mediums and switch to hard, or start on hard and switch to mediums, because there's no requirement to wear softs, but obviously the softs are the fastest, which is probably allowing me to build a bit of a gap here. And it looks like first place has built a bit of a gap on me, pushing up towards 3 seconds, so he's looking like he's got a bit of pace on me, as we don't get the best line through there, but this time we keep well inside the track just to make sure that we're not getting many more penalties. As we now come up to the penalty line, which just involves us slipping down 1 gear. Half-second penalty is not too bad. It's a bit of a bad straight to get any kind of penalty, quite honestly, because you do lose a bunch of pace, but you can see there we are no throw at all losing our position now, as you can see that time now whittling down. So we've come out now just over a 3-second gap, so that's a nice easy gap for us to be able to again work on building up to lap 5 and hopefully build a bit of a gap, so when we do pit we can hold on to the position if the person hasn't already pitted themselves. As we come down now, again first place really looking like they're starting to pull away that gap, 3.8 seconds. A bit untidy with these first 2 laps, I have to admit, even though I seem to be in a good place. Still feel like I can keep up with the Russian in first, but need to be a bit more consistent. But we're going to skip forward now. We'll skip forward to lap 4, just coming up to the final third of lap 4. You can see we have eased down that gap a little bit on first, sort of now sitting about 2.5 seconds, as we're actually really starting to close down now on him. 2.5 seconds on him, so we're in a nice range from first place, and we've really built a gap between us and third, a nice 7-second gap. So this is our 4th lap. So this isn't the lap that we're going to pit on, it's going to be the next lap. So let's see how this pans out, and let's see if we get our pit strategy right. As now we come down into these last few turns of lap 4. Looking through the cockpit view, just got our eyes really just trying to set good laps. We're actually currently holding the fastest lap on the track of a 2:20 flat. Again, 1 second off our qualifying pace and about 3 seconds off my best practice pace, so certainly not able to translate some of those things in practice into the race, certainly when it comes to when your tyres start to wear, which the length of this track. It's a long track, so even though we're not doing as many laps as we've done in other tracks, you're getting a lot of tyre wear as each lap goes through. So first place is pitted in, and we are now sitting in first place. So this is an interesting twist. He's got in earlier than us, so let's see if we can build a bit of a gap and take advantage of perhaps a bit of distance from us as he's coming out the pit lane now. You can see now our gap's around 5 seconds of a lead, 5.5 seconds. So it'll be really interesting to see if we can get in and swap our tyres and actually get out in front of him. If we can put in a good lap now, and he would have moved over. It looks like he went from soft to mediums, so it looks like we're even got the faster tyre, even though they might be slightly worn. So let's see if we can take advantage, and you can see the gap we're really starting to build there, 6 seconds. Also putting in a purple sector, so we're running the fastest time of all the people on the track so far. So good, this is really good. If we can do anything to increase that gap as much as we can, that's going to really close the door between us and first place for when we come around into pitting. So really so far so good. You know, I'm going to touch wood and make sure it doesn't happen. We haven't had any spin outs out or anything like this, but like I said, Spa, I feel like this is what it's like for a lot of people. People have their tracks and the tracks that they feel like they do really well on. I think when we did a lot of racing at Spa before, and the fact that I feel like I always do pretty well on Spa, so this is one of our favoured tracks, and you can tell we're absolutely flying. Up in first place. Again, we're 1 pit stop behind. If that person's doing a 2 pit strategy like us, we're 1 pit stop behind, but we're now built that gap a little bit more and pushing really up towards a 7-second gap as we come round now into the last few corners, and should be looking to pit now at the end of this lap. So let's see if we come in and out of this pit lane in front of the people in second, in front of the Russian, who's sitting in a nice pretty gap of about 7 seconds. It's going to be really close coming in and out of this pit. I reckon he's still going to be slightly in front of us, but let's see what happens. But hopefully we might even be able just to close that gap, the 2-second gap we had before we come in. So we're coming around to the chicane, which now is the entrance into the pit lane. You just sort of hook on the right here and then go around and push yourself into the pits here. So let's go through, and oh, absolute mess up there. I tweaked on the button and I accidentally pressed on do not change tyres, and there was nowhere to go back, and I've completely balls this up. As you can see, we've pitted in there not doing an absolute thing. For some reason my sportsmanship rating's gone down, which I didn't actually spot was in the race. But yeah, I pitted for literally no reason. A bit annoying because it looks like he pitted as well, and he's gone in. So he must have gone to hards and gone straight onto softs, or gone straight to mediums to run the race out like that. So he's already done his 2 stops. I'm still in first place and have retained it and got a lovely gap at the top of about 11 seconds. But I'm still yet to really pit. I pitted for literally no reason, due to the fact that I kind of fumbled on the D-pad and accidentally pressed on do not change tyres when my intention was to hit the mediums and swap to mediums. So we've got to revise our strategy, and we're going to have to go in again at the end of this lap and swap to the mediums, because we need to put on both medium and hard tyres, or else we're going to get a massive 1 minute time penalty right at the end of the race, which will just drop us right down the ranking. So no matter what, we're going to have to go in and swap these tyres. As you can see, they're pretty worn down anyway, so I'm going to have to ride them around this lap and see them through, and just see. You can see already that these tyres having an impact, that the gap already between us and the Russian started to come down by about a second he's gained so far. So we just need to try and keep this together, get ourselves in, do the pit we intended to do by moving to the medium tyres, and getting out, and let's see how much pain we've caused ourselves, which it's a real shame this, because we were looking in such a strong position to perhaps even win this race, but with unforced error, just a complete slip of the thumb, we're now looking in not a great place, even though we're still sitting in first with about a 10-second gap. You can see that time difference coming whittling down now as we're running on these really worn soft tyres. So we've definitely got to get these changed, or else it's just going to get worse and worse. And like I said, we need to get the medium and hards on. So complete and utter balls up on my part. Don't know why I feel like the need to rush. Obviously it's a race, so you feel the need to rush, but you got a good 5 to 6 seconds to select your option before the car even gets close to the pit bit. So we're coming in now, and they're going to try and do a bit better this time. Hopefully we can actually pit with the purposes of pitting. So we've had to pit twice in a row, because our first pit was effectively useless. That time we managed to put on the mediums. So now we should be changing tyres as opposed to coming in and out. But let's see where this puts us in terms of the race. There's tyres in that being changed now, but that is a huge error, unforced error that we didn't need to do, but we've now got a fresh set of tyres on, and let's see where we're coming out where it looks like we are still just in front of the Russian. But let's not forget that that guy has already done 2 pit stops and probably didn't make the same mistake we did. They probably have already ticked all their requirements, so they probably won't need another pit stop for the rest of the race, whereas I'm still going to need a pit stop before the end of this race. So I've really left this wide open now. If I can perhaps push hard on these fresher tyres than his, build a bit of a gap, then maybe we might be able to come out of this and still claim the race win. But things don't look great in terms of race win at the minute, or even you know, be able to keep hold of the second place we managed to qualify in. But let's just see how this pans out, and let's push on through to our last few laps of the race as we now come round, finishing off like about halfway through lap 7 now towards the back end of the race. So a really stupid unforced error there. Really, honestly, when I was doing it, I was so annoyed. I was, you know, as soon as I pressed it, I was like, surely you got a way to go back, or press circle to go back to it. But no, there's no way to go back on once you've chosen it. That's it. So the gap between us and the Russian is growing ever so slightly, but not enough for me to be able to really make a big enough gap that I'd need to get in and out of pit without having to concede the position between both a second and third place. We've got third place now sitting right behind the Russian in second. I don't know what his situation is in terms of pits, whether he's had 1 or 2 himself. I'm reckoning just 1, so he's probably got 1 more pit to do alongside me, so got him right close to us. But we're going to skip forward now right to lap 11, so we can see we're still hitting, holding on to first place. We've got a 1.6 second, 1.7 second lead, so we've still got a lead on the Russian in second. Not really grown too much, it's just sat there. It's probably tweaked a little bit over and up and down over the laps, but we're pretty much match pace for pace. So it's going to be a problem, which I don't think he needs a pit. I think he's already hit all of his tyre requirements. He just needs to see the race through, and it's really now is how much of a gap have we managed between us and third. I think first is our unrealistic aim, but trying to keep our second place is probably the most realistic aim of this race as we now come around through the last couple of turns of lap 11, and let's see how we get on with this pit and see if we come out ahead of the fellow Brit in third. We come round now into the final chicane, getting our brake marker at 150 metres. I don't know if it's feet or metres actually, I'm assuming metres. And we'll go into the pit lane as we need to move to hard tyres as we haven't put on any yet. And let's put them on. No need to refuel, loads of fuel left. Fuel is never an issue on this race. And you can see the Russians already got in front of us, so we don't have to worry about that. And I think we're fortunate because I am right, the Brit behind us, you can see there, has also come into pit as well. So really it's this Spaniard who was in 4th is going to be our challenger to come out, but it looks like we'll come out in front of him with a little bit of a gap to be able to. It's going to close down a little bit because he's at a faster pace, coming, you know, getting on accelerator further back. But if we can get through this turn properly and keep our pace about 140 as we're coming out of here, then we should be near enough match for speed and should be leveled out. So it looks like our gap there is about 3 seconds. We're now on our last lap of the race. 7 seconds between us and the Russian in front, so unless he spins out or does something really stupid, we are looking like we are just going to try and hold on to second place. Don't have to put in an amazing lap here, just have to keep it together and make sure I don't slide out under the tyres that have very little grip compared to the soft and the mediums we've been running on. So we just need to make sure we just you know, maybe pull back the braking zones a tiny bit and just make sure we're just getting through our turns and not doing any offensive. So if we lose half a second or a second to the Spaniard behind us, it's not the end of the world, as long as we manage to hold the position. So you can see we've already lost a little bit of time, about 0.2 of a second down, and you can see another 1/10 just dropped off there. So he is slowly starting to gain on us, but he's going to really have to do something special here in order to close the gap and also find an overtaking opportunity between now and the end of the race. But it looks like I'm just trying to take it as conservative as I can going around here, not trying to push myself too hard and not trying to accelerate too early out of corners and spin myself out through something stupid. A second place finish, even though it's, can't help but have a bitter taste in my mouth about that pit stop and messing up there, because, you know, I've got, when I come out, you know, 6-7 gap between us and the Russian. It would have made it really interesting at the end there. That can't say for sure whether I would have won this race, but it would have been a very, very close race at the end. But, you know, coming into this first race I've done in B class as a B class racer, second place finish, you can't complain, can you? You can't really whinge and say that's a bad result. As we come around now to the final chicane, come through nice and safely, not trying to push too hard, just get those over the line, which we have done there, and we have managed to secure a second place finish, which you know, like I said, was a really pleasing result to take, but I can't help but leave a little bit of a bitter taste in my mouth due to the way it went down and the fact I was stupid. But 48 points there, our best score for the current season. You can see that's much more than we've been able to achieve in any other ones, and as I said, as we go up the DR, the maximum points we can get is there, so we could have got up to 50 if we got first place, but we're going to keep that 48 points and use that going in to the next round. So in terms of the ratings and what that does in terms of ranking and stuff, we're still 9th place in the Derbyshire area, but hopefully now moving up rank we might even start trying to make progress from there. At the moment it's counting round 1 and round 4, so the 34 points we got on the first round and the 48 points we got on just the race we just did, and that's been contributed to our total score of 82. DR, you can see, look at that, the graph on the bottom left, you can see we had such a horrendous time, and you remember from previous videos last week was an absolute nightmare, but you can see we had a really good week this week on the daily races, and we've pushed that up, and I pushed it up right into B class, highest we've managed to get so far, and that gives us a good stead to try and start pushing our way for B class, with the aim now of trying to work our way towards A class, which is I believe around 30,000 DR. And the SR still, after our little bit of waving around a little bit, is now settled itself back at 99 maximum. So that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed the race. Not a particularly exciting race when it comes to overtakes and stuff, but a very strategical race, and with one stupid blunder. But I've been me, you've been you. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Alright, cheers, bye.